Welcome, everybody, to the Seekers podcast. Today, we have a special treat. We have a friend of mine from the US, Jennifer, who's decided to join us and explain her aspects and how she perceives helping people with fear-based experiences. Joining us is my colleague Osmarie, who's obviously you've seen on our podcast before. So, Jen, thank you very much for joining. I much appreciate you being with us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to today's discussion. So good afternoon to you, right? And good morning to me. That's
Yeah,
the cut
pretty much.
right now. Yeah.
So Osmarie's joining us today, and I know Jennifer doesn't know Osmarie, just her background and how her and I are collaborating and at which level. Osmarie, welcome to you.
Well, good afternoon, good morning. Good to be back.
So yeah, go ahead, Osmarie, and just discuss briefly the collaboration we have and the level of expertise that you have.
So, in general, I do energy healing in the form of chakra reading, activation, and balancing. I also do life coaching and I organize transformative retreats. So, Philippe and I have known each other, I think 5, 6 months. I can't remember. And basically, we join forces to help people achieve and unlock their potential, like what you do, and help them just become the best version of themselves. And currently, we are launching, or we launch program called the Life Transformation program, which is aimed in helping people empower themselves and achieve inner peace. So that's the collaboration we're doing, and more projects coming in 2025, workshops, retreats, and the likes. So, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you for that. So, Jen, as I mentioned before we started recording, was that you and I have met before, but I don't know your background. It would be nice to hear from you. What brought you to where you are today, and any kind of awakening moments that you had?
Well, today I'm doing the same type of work as both of you, is helping people empower themselves and giving them tools to do so. My background is actually I came from the corporate world. I have my degrees were in mechanical engineering and then an MBA. So I worked, the last corporate job was I worked in the motor industry, and I managed $100 million worth of business, and I got to travel all over the world. So there was a lot of learnings from that. I would say in 2020 is whenever I really got the realization that there was so much more to life and there was so much more that I needed to learn. And I started getting mentored by Bob Proctor. I'm really trying to understand the human potential and what is our true potential. And because of his teachings, that's what led me to where I am today, because you just start with a large goal, something you don't know how to do, but you want to do. And my goal was centered around what can I really do in this lifetime to make a difference? What type of service could I provide? And energy healing, that came to mind. I had never been to an energy healer before or experienced it, but that was my driving passion to move forward with that. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm an energy healer, both Reiki and quantum. Got to travel around to Ecuador and Mexico and meet different healers. That was a wonderful experience. And then I also teach people all of the learnings that I learned from Bob Proctor in a complete system called Thinking into Results, which basically helps you heal and also helps you with manifesting all the wonderful things we can do.
Amazing. That sounds brilliant.
Nice.
But I think
Um,
Osmarie can probably relate to what you're saying because she comes from the
yeah,
corporate
when
world
you
as
were
well.
saying with a mechanical engineering background, corporate world, we have almost similar background. So I'm a certified public accountant, not engineer, but accountant. And I have my MBA and I work with big companies. I also dealt with, I work as a bid manager for large and strategic deals, also handling multi-million deals.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the same. I had an awakening, which said, actually, my awakening was long time ago, but I received my purpose in life, but I don't know what does that mean because when I received it, I was young, and it
Mm-hmm.
just was recently. When I say recently, like years ago, that I fully immersed myself at the same time like you
Mm-hmm.
into this type of work. And so, yeah, I guess this would be an exciting talk.
Yeah.
So Jennifer, so once you got this realization, did you distance yourself from the corporate world straight away, or how did the transition go for you?
Um, no, I went through the coaching on my own time for a while because it takes a little while to but what I've learned is sometimes people go through a spiritual awakening because they have a major impact in their life and it impacts them into this spiritual awakening. Um, and what happened for me was sometimes people can overwrite their paradigms and it pushes them to this spiritual awakening um, because of the work that they're doing on their own. And that was sort of my path was to look at what is it that I'm reaching for and what's the possibilities and just continually working with my mind to overwrite my limited belief systems and the paradigms that I had.
So
Um,
so what was your motivation and which path did you suddenly realize you had to take? Did you suddenly realize you had to go and do a healer's course, or what was your motivation? How did you feel, when you were confronted with this transition period?
oh, wow. So to answer your prior question, I did the coaching, was going towards my goal, started to work with Reiki a little bit, and then working with family and friends, and then realizing, wow, this is true. This is real. Like we are all healers and we can do this.
Yeah.
That's whenever I decided to resign from the corporate world and step into this full time. And I would say that was probably the scariest decision I ever made, stepping into the unknown, right? Because the corporate world was fine. I mean, it delivered money, everything was fine, but I felt like I had a bigger purpose. So I was really stepping out and trusting that everything would be okay. But I already had the mindset of I can do this. And I knew that if I didn't resign, it was on a Sunday. And I said, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna send my 2 weeks notice. I'm gonna resign tomorrow, was what I was telling my husband. He's like, oh well, he didn't quite understand what was going on. But he said, well, do what you think you need to do. And I knew if I didn't do it at that moment, that those old paradigms of being comfortable would keep me stuck there. So I just took the leap of faith and I did it.
So, if there are triggers, what were the top three or top triggers for you? Like the key triggers to really do it?
The key triggers, I think it was through my learning and understanding of what fear actually is. Because when you get into the state of fear, it's like you have this uh, vibration within you that you're creating because you're afraid of the unknown. And I had already understood what all of these emotions were about. And I knew if I just did it, now the other side of fear is freedom. So that's why I continue to, I mean, and it continues on, if you're continuing for these large goals and these things you want to do for your life, you can come up against this fear from time to time. But if you just make the decision and keep moving forward, that everything's going to be all right. So I think because of my understanding of what that feeling was and what would happen if I just faced it and went through it, that everything would be okay. And that's why I did it.
just for people who will watch this,
Mhm.
if you can share what were the top fears that you know you need to undergo or to get rid of, so you can just take that leap.
The fears for me at that time was money, right? That's one of the biggest fears for people is where is my money going to come from now? Because I was making a pretty large salary at that time. So uh, the decision probably seemed a little crazy for people from the outside looking at what is she doing. She's you know and they even asked me that, well, what are you going to do now? And I say, I don't have it all, I don't really know yet, but I'm just trusting. And so yeah, I would say the biggest fears for most people is money. Where's the money going to come from?
Is that the same that you see now with your clients, or it varies? What are the trends that you see in terms of fear
I
with your clients?
Yeah, I would say the biggest fears that I see with people are money fears, so they don't step out and do what they really are passionate, what they're really called to do, what they're really wanting to do. So the one thing that holds them back is money fears. I call that money consciousness. And the other thing that holds them back is, what are people going to think of me? People are so concerned about what others are thinking of them that holds them back as well. So I would say what I recognize and what I see are those two main things. What are others thinking about me, and money?
If I understand it correctly, it's basically just fear of survival. Because if you
Hmm.
don't have money, you're not gonna survive. And ego,
Hmm.
because what would people think of me? Like, I would just say, you have a degree, high level degree, an MBA, and finally you take the leap, and then it's not the common path that people would undertake.
Hmm. Yeah, and there was a bit of that too, the fear of what are people going to think of me? Here's this here's this woman who came out of corporate that's mechanical engineering, and now she's saying she's a healer. People have a hard time understanding that bridge and that gap. Like, how did she get from here to there? And in order to fight through that fear, what I did was I actually joined an organization. It was a small business organization where I had to get up and talk every week about what I did. And then once you get used to just continually talking about it, then it's just natural. So now it's very natural for me now. But that's some paradigms that are stuck in those limited belief systems, those fear-based systems. What are people going to think? And the sooner people can get over that, the better, because there's no reason to go through that for months and months and months, because most people aren't thinking anything at all about what you're doing, with your life. They're more worried about what's going on with them.
With their life.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
So, do you have extreme cases of fear other than those two things that you mentioned?
For my transition, those were the two biggest things. I think there was a lot of learning that went on with the corporate world, even in, just the physical reality, without knowing anything about spirituality and our true human potential. That there's certain things in life as you're growing, as you're trying to become better, that you're constantly getting through little fears in that way. So there's a learning process all through life, and then learning continues. It always continues, right?
Yeah,
yeah,
the learning curve.
there's that certain, as you mentioned, there's that certain divide that I came across myself on my path, where people see you as an engineer or see you as commercially entrenched, and suddenly you mentioned that you're actually doing some of this woo-woo spiritual stuff as well, and they can't make the connection. For them, it doesn't work. It should be separate. I had the same thing. I was working as a commercial pilot at the time, but then I started practicing, meditation, teaching, and spiritual healing. And for most people, it didn't work. It's like those are two different worlds. How could you be functioning in those worlds? So I completely get what you're saying. It's a tricky one. But I think nowadays, as things have changed and people have become more aware, and the left brain, right brain, that balance is becoming more apparent, people are actually realizing that these two worlds can coexist, as it were.
Yes. And to me, I feel like we're really at that point now where we have to start rebuilding, right? So I feel like, okay, I've learned how to work through the corporate world. The last 4 years, I've been really understanding and working spiritual aspects. So now how do you bring that back into the world and really help people? So it's got to be from a grounded perspective too. So people can understand what you're saying and you can understand where they are and then kind of help them along to the next step.
Yeah. So let's talk about fear now, because I think that's the commonality, right? It's common throughout both of those worlds, if you will. And when we look at fear, the foundation of fear itself, I think most people don't really understand that. They just tend to experience it without the actual insight. Have you found that yourself, and have you been able to explain to people the root of their fear, for example?
Yeah, so how it was explained to me and how I learned it and how I teach other people is I really teach about the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind is where a lot of our paradigms are, or our life scripts, or our beliefs, and that's where a lot of that resides. And much of that comes from early childhood, from 0 to about the age 7,
Yep.
where we are just soaking up everything from everyone. And we're not saying, do we believe this or don't believe it? We just believe everything that people are giving us. So these paradigms are formed in our subconscious mind, and that's how they begin early in life. But even as we move through life and uh, we're not consciously choosing what we want to go in our subconscious mind, we are putting more belief systems in there based on our outside world. So whenever you have your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, and they have the same belief system. So when you go out and you want to think bigger and you want to overwrite these paradigms that are in your subconscious mind, now you're entertaining this new idea. And this new idea, once you start to get emotionally involved with it and try to overwrite your subconscious mind, well, now you have two conflicting things in your subconscious mind, the old belief and the new belief that's coming in. And this creates this chaotic vibration within the body. And that's why you have these emotions of fear. So basically, we're creating it all on our own. That's the illusion of fear, is that we're creating that on our own. And it's that process and understanding it and then moving through it.
How do you find bridging that gap between the conscious and the subconscious? Because I find for myself, the way I teach things, is we have to find a way to bridge that gap, right? And to bring the subconscious into the conscious in order to face those kind of fears. How do you go about that yourself?
There's lots of different methods out there. I would say getting, meditation and just getting in that quiet state really allow some of the items from the subconscious mind to surface so you can heal them. Um, there's other there's other methods like journaling, just any way to get into that quiet state of mind to help heal that. What I use is visualization techniques. So what is it that a person wants to do? What is it that they want to step out and do? What does their big, beautiful world look like? And really have them visualize that, really project that on the screen of their mind, get in a quiet, calm state, and visualize that over and over, and to get emotionally involved with it. How does it feel whenever you achieve that big, beautiful life that you want? And it does a couple of different things. One, it helps overwrite and heal some of the things that are in the subconscious mind, but it also helps to awaken our dormant abilities. We all have these dormant abilities within us, but if we don't exercise those, I call them muscles, like mental muscles, like visualization and things like that. Once we start utilizing those a little bit more, then we start awakening some of the magic within inside of us.
Do you think that overwriting as opposed to facing is an aspect that should be dealt with the subconscious fears based, like traumas and latent fears that have been carried over from other lives? How do you see that?
I think it's a little bit of both. You know, we talk about overwriting it, but at the same time, whenever you are emotionally involved with these ideas and it's conflicting with what's in your subconscious mind, that creates a little bit of a vibration where you can raise it to the surface, whatever that old paradigm is, raise it to the surface and heal it. um I don't, I try to stray people away from constantly thinking about what they don't want, because that's not doing any good either, because
Yeah.
you're putting that more and more into your subconscious mind.
Yeah. So for personally, I feel that once you've dealt with or dealt with the subconscious side, a lot of times we actually end up with a hole in life where there's something missing, where we've actually done away with something that used to be part of our reality. And of course, we need to replace that with something. Otherwise, we tend to go back to that mode, don't we? And as you say, particularly, I like the way you say that the fact that you talk about manifestation, essentially what you're saying is the replacement of the old with
Yes.
something more positive.
Absolutely. Because if you're not replacing it with something more positive, you could be replacing it with something else that may not be good for you either. So I think the replacement of something more positive, and it's a continuing spiral upwards, because then you'll raise your conscious awareness to what is possible, and you'll continue to grow and grow and grow. That's what I've experienced, and that's what I see my clients experience as well.
Osmarie, any questions you have so far?
Actually, I want to ask, like, because that's the trend that you're saying. Were there extremes that you've seen so far in your clients? Or maybe you can explain the methodology that you do to for your clients to overcome these fear-based blocks.
The fear-based, a lot of it is what we just talked about, where they're thinking into the results. They're doing a lot of the work on their own, and it has to come from within. But as a coach, you have support there for them too. So the energy healing is fantastic, because this can help bring some things to the surface and you can clear those. And I love energy healing because it's wonderful, but the combination of really working with people to empower themselves, only they can think for themselves. So you have to get that mental muscle engaged so they start thinking correctly, having the right thoughts, the positive thoughts.
Yeah. So I think
How long does it normally take on average to shift from that super blocked individual to finally open individual?
Well, that's a tricky question, right? Because it's like
On average.
how quickly can someone believe what they want to do? You can't get past your current belief system. My I would say on average it can be very short, or at least the coaching class that I do, I take 6 months. 6 months. So 12 lessons. I may go through the first 12 first, depending on where they're at. Like if they already understand some of this material, we go through the lessons very quickly, all 12, and then we do it again, because their conscious awareness has raised and now they go through it again. If the material is new, or what like we're talking about right here today is fairly new to people, then go a little slower. We go lesson 1, 2 weeks, lesson 2, 2 weeks. So they understand it and they can internalize it a little bit more.
So in the end, if I understand it correctly, the shift happens depends on your awareness and your beliefs.
Yes. Yes.
So there is actually no time. It's a matter of your capacity to switch your belief and to raise your awareness immediately.
Mhm. Yeah, and those shifts happen right away. But like how large is the shift? How large of that shift is? So I guess that's kind of the measurement is what is the shift? But people start with their positivity and start noticing that people are reacting differently to them within the first 3 to 4 weeks. If they just study the material and they do the things in their life, they'll start noticing it right away. And I think that's what helps people continue to move forward is because now other people are saying stuff to them because they're noticing a difference in them. And they should, because you're moving towards positivity, you're doing things differently. Doing things differently.
Do you have a specific example of a client which took so long to shift and the extreme one which took so fast?
Yeah, so we work with really large goals, and that's great. And because we can do anything. But what I've seen is sometimes people's goals are so large. So what I have them do is, okay, keep that in mind and like live from that place. But let's start working on something that you still don't know how to do, but might seem a little more believable to you, so you can see that happen right away. So if people have a large goal that they just can't believe at all, that's going to take longer. So I try to make sure that they have these wins up front so they can see, yes, this is real, this is happening. Yes, you create your reality. But you still keep the large goal out there. You just may work it in steps.
But the gap between awareness, where they become aware, and the gap to the point where they actually integrate the tools and become, let's say, functional, useful. Have you found that to be a moving target, or do you find there's a specific time frame where people are able to integrate? I know you mentioned that you do your first lesson and then 2 weeks later you do the next one. I suspect that period is potentially the integration period, right?
Yes, it is. It is. And it's a study period for them too, because I have them listen to the lesson and learn and understand why are we setting goals. And when people listen to the lesson and read what I have them to read, depending on their level of awareness, they're going to gain different things out of it. So even whenever I go through the lessons again, I gain even a higher level of understanding because you change. You go through it for 6 months. Now you've changed because your level of awareness has raised. And if
Yeah.
you go back through it again, you're going to get more from it. Just like if you were to read a book and now you go back and read your favorite book, it's going to be different meaning to a person who has went through that up level of awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can all relate to that, where you may have dealt with a certain traumatic experience, whether it be in this life or a past or the previous life, and you think it's resolved, and then 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, you suddenly find it's back, but then you see that you're seeing aspects that you hadn't seen before. So as you said, awareness changes as you raise your personal frequency, right?
Yes. It's all about vibration, right?
Exactly.
That's
And actually, all throughout this podcast, I can't concentrate sometimes because I just see you changing in colors. And I said, oh my God, did I activate myself?
You're
I'm seeing you changing colors.
okay. Explain that. What are you seeing?
When we started the podcast and you were explaining your life, I was seeing yellow. It's the willpower, confidence. And then at some point you were talking about like what triggered you to change. I was seeing purple, third eye. And then when you were explaining something like what you've seen, why you have to do it, I'm seeing red, which which for me is like humility grounding.
Mm.
Like
Okay.
what you achieve in terms of empowerment when you did this, I'm seeing you red. And then when you were explaining the program that you do, I'm seeing blue, which for me is you're telling the truth.
Yeah.
And then every time you speak, it's changing from purple to yellow. So it's like your confidence, what you know, and then it's changing to purple. And then I'm like, I have to stop this. I cannot concentrate.
So the
So
purple
sorry.
yellow changing, what does that mean to you? Like, is that shifting from like more intellect to spiritual? That's what I would think it
Yeah,
meant.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like an inner knowledge that you're trying to say, and then you just come back to like facts based.
Yeah. It's
And then I'm
about,
like, oh my God, I need to stop this, but I don't like I cannot stop right now. Just allowed it.
Mhm.
So I know like when you're doing the method, when you were expressing the methodology, I know you're telling the truth because I'm seeing blue.
Mhm. Yeah.
But
Yeah, sorry.
Most people who can see auras usually see blue. They always say it's blue, blue all around you, which is
I'm seeing the colors of chakra, like which one is being activated and auras.
okay.
Yeah, I didn't mean to. I'm sorry.
No, thanks for sharing. I love it. I think it's fascinating that you have the ability to do that.
yeah, Osmarie and
It
I,
just happened. It's a long story. That's for another podcast.
Osmarie and I, we do some experiments. Recently, we started an experiment where we are actually dealing with certain aspects, and I'll project certain aspects without, she doesn't know the content. So I'll manifest a certain aspect, and then she'll
Mhm.
give me the feedback on what she's seeing according to what I'm creating. And then I'll tell her what I was creating. And then she can give me feedback on what she was seeing and how that ties in. So it's actually quite a cool experiment phase that we conduct every now and again.
That's fascinating. I would say my highest intuition ability is more feeling. So whenever I can do distant healing work, it's I can
Your
feel
color now is white.
is white. Okay.
Yeah, higher
That's
self.
I can scan the chakras and know where people's blockages are. And when people are talking to me, I can feel it. Like you can feel what they're saying and what they're really feeling. And you can get a lot of information that way too, to help people like uncover some of their blocks and help them move forward.
Yeah, Osmarie's the secret weapon.
Yes.
She can see stuff. I'll just call her in. Tell me what's this about?
But I guess I'm less of the feeling because I see it.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I work with a lot of amazing people like you two, and um, we all have all have different strengths and abilities. So together we can really help one another. And I
Exactly.
think it's fascinating, and I think we should all embrace these spiritual gifts that we have and help others to do it as well.
That's our goal today. That's our
Mhm.
goal. Why we are doing this to help other people unleash whatever that is that they have. We all have gifts.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's great. So our mission is the collaboration as yours is to Jennifer. Um, yeah, so it's been difficult, it's been tricky, but making our way forward and we're getting there, helping people here and there. But have you found in the last few weeks, have you found certain changes in energy? Have you found certain levels of awakening? Any experiences you want to share that's going on right now?
Well, I would say in the last few weeks, I'd have to go back and look at my journal, but I journal every morning because the last couple weeks, I would say probably the last couple of nights, maybe around December 4th. The energy is fascinating. Like, just in me and my meditations and what's available to me and how much help I'm getting, just the healing energies and moving you forward and the messages being received. And yeah, December has been phenomenal.
Yeah, I've heard reports, looking at darting around YouTube about people commenting about a mass awakening, a big energy shift happening in December. Certainly
Oh,
from a personal perspective, I can feel the last 2 days has been absolutely nuts. It's been building up. But I can relate to that. I can see that, it's certainly happening, but for me, never fast enough, right?
so it was interesting because yesterday I have so many opportunities coming to me and then trying to figure out where could I be of the best service, right? So I can do energy healing, I can do the coaching. If you see this pyramid behind me,
Yeah,
this way,
yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
um, I am
Love
very,
that.
can you see the colors here? Can you see the energy on the pyramids? On the pyramid?
No, right now I'm seeing your aura to this level.
Okay.
I,
Your,
I
your
don't know,
aura.
like I want to switch up, but I said like, you know what, let's just go
Well,
with
maybe
it.
you can
It's
give me
fun.
some feedback because I am still very, very interested on building this concept of the new world. What does it look like? And I'm very interested in the free energy. And we've experienced it through energy healing. And then trying to relay that back to people is like I talk about Reiki and then I talk about the quantum level and how do we utilize that energy for free energy to power our homes? So that's why I have the pyramids back there. And it emits a high frequency and it's for healing. I mean, it creates this, it kind of uplifts the consciousness. It's healing in the room. And those high aspect ratio pyramids are during this time lifting that even more. So I'm fascinated with what the Egyptians have done. I'm fascinated still with the science stuff that Nikola Tesla had done back in the early 1900s. So I love researching that type of stuff and experimenting with it. So that was my question yesterday to spirit. Where can I serve the best? Is it coaching? Is it healing? Is it, moving forward with this new energy? And the only message that I got back was, we are entering the new world. We are entering the new world. So,
It's funny you should mention that because I was doing a meditation earlier today. I had quite a powerful meditation, and part of the aspect of it was my question was, what do I need to do? And the message came back was just being in the moment and anchoring the energy.
mhm. I think
Because
that's right too. I think that's right on.
yeah, you can't change anybody else but yourself, right? And anchoring the energy is what that ripple effect where hopefully people will resonate with that. And it was about
Amazing.
bringing the universe inside ourselves, which is the true universe, and manifesting it through the heart center into the outside universe, which into our reality. So it was all about that. It was really great, really wonderful thing, to be, but then to wake up and come back to, oh, right, I'm still here. Okay. Still tricky, right?
Well, I absolutely agree with what you're saying there. And I've gotten similar messages too, is to just to be present with people, to be in the now moment and allow that energy to just flow to and through us. And that will help elevate others and help elevate our world. And I
Yeah,
think that's the number one job that we have.
absolutely. Agreed. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
We received the same message because I was doing my meditation today and I'm like, I'm asking the same thing. I know my purpose. I receive a gift. What do I need to do to use this for better service?
Mhm.
And it's like, yeah, focus on yourself. Let go and surrender and just do step by step.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, this is so exciting. I can feel as we're talking at this level, I can feel it. And my personal excitement, energy is just, I want to get out there and do things. I feel really empowered and motivated and really challenged to make a difference, right? It's been really empowered now, because of our conversation. So I'm grateful. Thank you, to you two for actually being here and providing and confirming how I've been feeling, what I've been seeing. It's always great to get those confirmations, right?
Yes.
Well, it's always great to feel that you're still normal. You're not going crazy.
Yes.
Crazy. But it's weird when we talk about energy, and just briefly, we may be going slightly off topic, but um, earlier today I was looking at a past life where I had some serious trauma, and while I was looking at that and dealing with that, I suddenly felt my throat energy center was so active, but in a strange way, it actually made my lower jaw vibrate, as if when if you're really, really cold and your teeth start to chatter. And I couldn't stop that. And I was like, what's going on? Why is my lower jaw going crazy? Realizing, and as I eventually worked through the aspect, dealing with the fear of that particular lifetime, eventually restoring the flow, that eventually calmed down. So that was an interesting thing, to experience. There's such a strong, uh, energetic, magnetic force feeling that translated into a physical aspect.
Mm.
So yeah, really interesting stuff. And these things are all coming to the surface, right? And it's time.
Yeah, you mentioned that, and there was I worked with a spiritual teacher who channeled and wrote many ensoulments, and I was looking at one of those ensoulments, and it had said it was from Archangel Zadkiel, and it said that we hold so much energy in our jaws, and there was exercises, and I'm just thinking, does that relate back to your experience? I don't know.
It's that projection, right? It's that expressing your truth, which is it's the core really of that energy center, is that expression, right? Connecting, spiritually and with the third eye together, the intuitive aspect. But but yeah, it was my first energy center back when I had my first awakening that first fired up, and I didn't know what was going on. It felt like somebody was squeezing my jaw. There was this pressure, and I didn't know what it was for quite a while, to eventually work that out. But yeah, it's amazing. And I think as we build our level of insight, all these, let's call them secrets, are revealed to us. And that's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Gaining those insights, gaining that awareness.
Yeah. You talked about your throat chakra, your truth center. And I'm wondering, Osmarie, whenever you work with people, since you can see so vividly the colors and of the chakras, I noticed in the healing room that that chakra is blocked for a lot of people. What is your experience
It's
with the chakras, and what do you see the most where people need
it's
help?
actually like people with from my work so far, what I've seen, people with blocked solar plexus chakra, because that's coming from childhood. The block of that is coming from childhood, most of it. And if you're blocked with that, it automatically blocks your heart center as well and your throat.
Yes.
Because majority of the causes of solar plexus is fear of rejection, seeking validation, seeking approval, all these things, and it affects how we deal with people, which is the heart.
Mhm.
And then it affects how we speak. And yeah, it's most of the block.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never seen anybody with unblocked, with a activated throat chakra who has a blocked solar plexus. Majority. I wait. I haven't have any client, one client with activated throat chakra. So far, everybody that I work with, it's blocked.
Yes. Yeah. And it's important to move what you were saying, to move from the root chakra up. You have to gradually unblock those chakras. You don't want things to you don't work on certain activations and not work on the lower ones first, right? You want it to be a steady,
Yeah,
steady.
it always starts with the base. We're going segue now. It always starts with the base because the base is related to ancestral and past life. We inherit traits from our ancestors, parents, and the parents of our parents. Depression, anxiety, we can also inherit that. So it needs to start from the start. And the three lowest energy center chakras are the chakras related to the material world. So before we can even go to spiritual, we need to cover our base, which is our presence here in the world.
Exactly. And that's what my quantum healing does, is it really, um, I use like an infinity symbol for the lower three chakras to really get those stabilized. And then that will open up the heart chakra. So basically, it's more of an ascension process, an ascended living from the heart center, where that becomes the root center instead of the lower three. And then all the chakras.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because the heart,
in the Egyptian theology, they talk about the bottom three and then the gateway between the sacral and the heart center. As you mentioned that, Jen. Now
yeah,
it's like there's that gateway, right? Because mankind generally across the globe, and if you look at different group consciousness, they work with different aspects. And predominantly let's talk about the African and the really earthy people tend to be operating only in the base three. But the gateway is that bridge where you activate through the heart center, and then that opens up the rest.
Mhm.
So yeah,
yeah, because the heart is the connector of the three upper three, which are connected to spiritual, and you have the lower three, which is the material world, and the heart is the connector of those three. It's at the center.
yeah, it's amazing stuff. It's great. I'm loving this conversation, guys. It's awesome. It's
Oh,
great,
thank you.
great to share and to see the how we even though we're from different parts of the world, we all understand and see the same thing, right? Which is what we want, right? That unity, that same awareness, that building the group consciousness, which is my desire, is to not only create collaboration, if I can get the words out, but also to join people and say and get rid of that fear-based separation, which we all know is present, right? And that's the hard part, I think, that fear-based aspect that keeps us separate because the ego is saying, I need to get a bigger car than yours so I can feel better about myself.
Right. Right.
That's the world, right?
Yeah, I always run, there's no thing to fear. That's what I always say in the back of my mind. And once you start really going through and facing these things that may be fearful, it gets a lot easier. It's a lot easier just to move forward and to trust, to really have the faith and just to trust.
Yeah, that trust issue, that's the big one, isn't it? Trust. And when I'm on my course, I teach, the first questions I ask is, can you work with truth and do you trust yourself? Foundational stuff, isn't it? Because you can't
Yeah.
build on a weak foundation. So as you say, trust, and then we attach patience to that because we want to trust now, but it takes time to grow and to evolve and to build into that, doesn't it? Really
Mhm. Sure does.
amazing. So yeah, so I'm really grateful. I'm really thankful that you were able to join us today. Is there anything that you wanted to share? Anything that you found really outrageous out there that nobody knows, that secret you've been keeping about the spirit world?
I'm pretty open about what I know. So,
I'm
but thanks
joking.
for having me. I really enjoyed the conversation today. And I'd love to do this again sometime.
Yeah, and I think maybe between yourself and Osmary, you've struck up a bit of a connection there. Maybe you might be able to invite her onto your podcast and look more into this energy system.
Yes, that would be
More than happy.
perfect.
Right. So thank you very much, both. We're going to end it on that today. Really, really happy and grateful, and had a nice conversation, nice uplifting feeling during our talk today. So thank you very much for attending. Jennifer, you can just mention briefly where people can get in touch with you. We'll obviously put that in the comments anyway, but if you can mention a few
Yeah,
aspects of
so
yourself.
how people can get in touch with me, Natural Energy Healing is the name of my business. So www.naturalenergyhealing.life. And you can find all of my services there, which is to help people empower themselves. And it's all about the mindset, manifestation coaching, energy healing. And then I also teach people how to do energy healing as well.
Amazing. Osmary, any last messages, insightful stuff from yourself?
Well, I would like to invite everybody Meditation Monday. We host meditation every Monday at 8 p.m. UK time. So this is designed to help people release the stress, manage anxiety, depression, burnout, or just feel calm and achieve inner peace because Monday is always tough most of the time. So it's Meditation Monday. And also, we have a New Year's resolution promo now for our Life Transformation program. Empower yourself and achieve inner peace. And you can also, Philip will put my website, www.awesomeworld, if you want to do chakra reading to understand your core personal blocks. And as well, energy healing, like Jen is doing, but mine is more of activating and balancing and removing all those stored energy in specific chakras or energy centers. And I have an upcoming retreat, sorry, long. And I have an upcoming next level personal transformation retreat here in Portugal, January and March. And you can see that as well on my website. That's
Very nice.
Perfect. Thank you very much, guys. Much appreciated once again. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good afternoon, Jen. For us, it's a good evening. And yeah, we'll catch up soon, I'm sure.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
All right. Cheerio.
All right. Bye-bye.